Over the years, our kids have had a lot of illnesses. 6 kids means a lot of childhood sniffles and coughs. And when our kids weren't feeling well, it affected our entire home. Luckily, some clever guys in Brisbane have come up with the perfect solution: Rehydrate.
Rehydrate are delicious drinks that rehydrate up to 3 times faster than water alone, packed with essential electrolytes. Rehydrate is one of the few rehydration products that is safe for all ages. Stock up at Coles and be prepared whenever illness strikes. It's that quality of the connection that really is the currency of our relationships.
It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
My name's Dr. Justin Coulson, the author of 6 books about raising happy families. I'm here with my wife and the mum to our 6 daughters, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie Coulson. This episode is the Moment of Truth episode, really. This is the I'll Do Better Tomorrow update, where we kind of highlight that we're not really chasing perfection in parenting. We're just trying to make our families happier.
I'm pretty exhausted this morning. I've had a really bad night's sleep.
You kept me up all night, I know. I've had a bad night's sleep as well.
You know, it was 2:30 this morning and...
I know it was. Yeah, thank you.
Well, do you know what was keeping me up?
No. Well, it wasn't me, but you were keeping me up. Why were you awake?
I was having podcast conversations with you in my head for hours.
Really?
And you know what? It made me think about when we very first got married. You were a radio announcer back then. And I don't know if you remember this, but you used to talk in your sleep a lot.
Yeah.
But one night in particular, you had me freaked out because literally bolt right up in bed. You're bashing the end of our bed as though it was the radio panel.
Yeah, the desk,
because you thought that you'd gone off air.
It was a recurring nightmare. It happened. It didn't happen so much after we were married, but when I was younger and I was first in radio, I used to wake up in the middle of the night all the time thinking that the radio station had gone off air and I was solely responsible for. I mean, we'd gone dark. How we get the radio station back on air? And then I would realise that I was in bed. And I'd think, oh no, we've gone off air and I've gone home and let the radio station go off air. Like it was really disoriented. It was terrible. So,
well, my situation was not as manic as that.
Was the podcast good that you were?
I had multiple conversations. I'm not sure which one to listen to.
I hope it was as good as this one. So I'll do better tomorrow. The idea here is that we recognise the things that we're not doing so well, and I mean, I guess for somebody listening to the podcast, it could be easy to assume that, Justin and Kylie have got it going great. They know exactly what's going on. Justin's got the PhD. They've got the 6 kids. They're on fire. We have our moments. And I want to start off this podcast by highlighting a moment that I had that was really eye-opening for me. So it's really inconvenient in the mornings to get our Year 10 daughter to school. Our Year 12 daughter's done now. She's finished school. But our Year 10 daughter, she's sort of 10 minutes to the east of us is where her school is. And then the other 3 kids, their schools are to the west of us and we ride them there. I mean, we talk about that bike ride all the time on the podcast because it's such a highlight for them and for us. But because it's so challenging to travel with Ella to her school, we've made the decision that I'm not going to drive her anymore. It was inconvenient.
Well, we brought this up a couple of weeks ago on the podcast because you actually had a conversation with her about finding a suitable solution because the solution we had at the time wasn't working. And now a few weeks later, we've realised that the solution that you both came up with was still not working.
Oh, it was a good solution, but it was still inconvenient because I had to drive 20, 25 minutes in the middle of the morning to do that. And I missed out on the bike ride with the other kids. But now I'm really regretting it because I miss the conversation in the morning and the afternoon with her. She's such a sweet kid and I'm not getting to engage with her in the same way. That was really great quality time. And we've paid for the bus till the end of the year. So I'm not going to start driving her now, but I'm feeling really I didn't realize just how valuable that time in the car was. I mean, here I am, the parenting expert. And all I wanted to do was say, oh, look, this is a pain driving you. You jump on the bus. I'll just pay for the bus. And I'm kicking myself now. I just want to drive her to school.
So if you could go back, what would you do?
I'd keep on driving her to school. And I'd probably complain about it the whole time. I'm like, oh, this is such a pain. I hate doing this. But I don't hate doing it. I love it. I miss it. So next year, I'm not going to pay for the bus. I think so long.
She'll be driving.
Well, not for a few months, but I want to drive her to school. I think that it's just a sweet thing. So that's my I guess my confession. I wish that I hadn't kicked her out of my life in the mornings and the afternoons for that 20 minutes each way, because it's actually, I miss it, and it was a highlight of my day.
It's amazing, as our children get older, we seem to find less time for them. Not so much that we find less time, but they've got more going on in their lives. And so, that realisation for you that 20 minutes was just so precious.
Yeah, I say it all the time to a child lover, spelled Time.
Yeah.
But it's that quality of the connection that really is the currency of our relationships. Let's find out what yours was in just a sec.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Imagine a home where discipline got results without anyone having to feel bad or in trouble. The Do's and Don'ts of Discipline is a webinar to help parents set limits with love, compassion and humanity. Find it now at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. This episode is all about how we can do better tomorrow. I've confessed that I made a parenting misstep, and it's going to cost me for the rest of the year. I've already had to pay for the bus, but I'm paying a much steeper price in that I don't get the connection with our Year 10 daughter that I didn't realise how much I enjoyed it until I suddenly couldn't have it because she's catching the bus. So what about you? How do you want to do better tomorrow?
Well, I had a bit of an unexpected win this week.
Oh.
Annie, our 13-year-old, came to me recently and she said that she had a note that I needed to sign, and I needed to read it because it was their swimming carnival. She's just moved to a new school, but at her previous school, she actually already participated in the swimming carnival at the beginning of the year. And so she didn't feel the need to have to participate at her new school.
What's going on here? Cats and dogs are going to be lying down together if there's 2 swimming carnivals in 1 year? I can't believe it.
She was not really impressed, and she really didn't want to get involved in it. And so I listened to, the concerns that she had. And then I just was able to kind of, gently acknowledge to her that while I understood what she was feeling, that the experiences she'd had at the old school were about building community spirit at that school. But that now she was a part of a new community, that it was an important part for her to play because, number one, she's good at it. But number two, to be involved. You can't say that you don't feel a part of something if you're not willing to interject yourself and actually, contribute. And she kind of looked at me, scrunched up her nose, and she said, "Can you just sign my note?" And she walked off. Well, about, maybe an hour later, she came to me with a note in hand and said, "I've ticked all the boxes. I need to start swimming lessons now."
Oh.
And I looked at her and said,
"Is that where that came from?"
"What?
Right.
What is going on?" And she said, "Well, I thought about what you said, Mum." And she said, "And I realised I am really good at swimming, and I don't think I'd feel really good about myself if I didn't take the opportunity to participate, especially with not knowing if I could have actually done well."
Oh, so the take-home message there, there's some really cool things to unpack. Number one, you've given her autonomy, but you don't just say, "Oh, whatever you want." That's not what autonomy support is about. It's about saying, "Let me give you a really clear rationale for why I think it's important. Now you go away and have some time to think about it." But you didn't guilt her. She had the freedom to choose. And she's made a much better decision than we could have probably asked for, right?
I was not expecting her to do. Just one thing for her to participate in the swimming carnival, but she actually wants to go back to swimming, which was my hope.
Yeah.
Has always been. I've always loved seeing the kids at swimming, but I never in a million years thought that this conversation would actually lead to that outcome.
But I think the other take-home message is the way you connected her decision to our family values. As a family, we're the kind of people who contribute. We're the kind of people who have a go. And when we have a go, we actually really try. And so she's been able to connect back to those values as she's made her decision autonomously. It wasn't a guilt trip. It was just, look, this is the kind of family we are. You go away and have a think about it. It's up to you. And, what a great outcome.
Yeah. She had her first day in the pool on Tuesday.
Right.
And as she came home, she was so excited to kind of just recognise and reconnect with this skill that she has and is effortless in the water. And it was just so enjoyable to listen to her and hear her excitement.
Well, it sounds like you don't have to do better tomorrow. It sounds like you absolutely hit that one on the head. I'm definitely going to do better, certainly next term. I can't wait to start driving Ella to and from school. I will be complaining about it, you know that, don't you?
I do.
I won't be able to help me. "Oh, gosh, this is inconvenient. Why can't you find your own way to school, catch the bus again. I hope I remember this podcast and the things that I've learned here. If you've enjoyed the podcast, we would be so grateful if you would leave a rating and review at Apple Podcasts, because your ratings and reviews help other people to find out about the podcast and make their families happier. We also appreciate Justin Rulon and our executive producer, Craig Bruce, for helping us to sound as good as we can. If you'd like more information on how we can make your family happier, go to happyfamilies.com.au, click on the memberships and join the family. We'd love to be able to have an impact on your family's lives through the Happy Families membership. And you can find us on our socials, Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.